Iron Monkey presents the Lazaretto Letters, a found collection of unmailed, handwritten letters from 1922. Episode 9, The Red Letter, Part 2. Today's letters are from Timothy Doyle, addressed to Thomas Callahan, Providence, Rhode Island, stamped, sealed, and unpostmarked. Letter 7, Sunday, June 4, 1922. Dear Tom, I spent what seemed like several dreadful hours stewing about in the red letter lying across my threshold. It sat there like a verdict, waiting to be read. Each time someone passed, I feared they would stoop to pick it up and hand me my final judgment. I wanted to take it and hide it, but I could not move. I was frozen, petrified. I tried to tell myself that it was not even meant for me. In all honesty, it could have been addressed to my ever-sleeping roommate. When he stirred, all I could think was that he would sit up, take the envelope in hand, and calmly reveal that it bore my name. I wished it would simply go away, as though it were some small mistake that no one would notice if left alone. I tried to see if I could read who it was addressed to out of the corner of my eye, as though I might deny what I saw if I never looked at it straight on. Tom, I thought I might drop dead of a heart attack right there. If I saw my name upon it, I was certain my fate would be sealed. My thoughts raced in tight circles. What did the letter say? I wanted to know, yet I did not. I could not bring myself to face it. Just because it might be harmless did nothing to quiet the terror it stirred in me. I knew the nurses would soon be making their rounds, and that knowledge pushed me to the brink. Something had to give. I heard shuffling down the hall and sprang to my feet, snatching up the ladder while refusing to meet its face. They were too close for me to flee, and panic took hold. I rushed to the window, threw it open, and hurled the red letter out toward the crashing waves below. I threw it hard, yet it seemed to stop in midair, only a few feet from the window. It began to spin in the sea breeze, rising at first, instead of falling. For a terrible moment, I thought I could not be rid of it at all. As though it possessed some will of its own, it turned and drifted back toward me, wobbling and circling, as if it meant to return to the room. I slammed the window shut just in time. The envelope struck the glass with a dull slap, clung there for a heartbeat, then slid down, turned once more, and finally tumbled away towards the sea. I stood there watching it spin end over end until my eyes ached, like a seabird caught in a senseless loop, never quite falling, never quite flying, until at last it vanished from sight. What sort of game it had been playing with me? It might have shown its face if it wished, yet instead it teased me with its back, as though proving it could torment me further if it chose. Still, it was gone, and that was all that mattered. I realized that the letter could simply be replaced, but likely not today, and that knowledge gave me great satisfaction. I felt as though I had been granted a stay of execution, and the relief of it washed over me. Signing off, with a rare smile upon my face. Doyle. Letter 8, Monday, June 5, 1922. Dear Tom, after a restful night, my morning has been torturous. Every time someone enters my room, I expect them to have a replacement red letter in hand. I need to get out of here. I begged them to release me, but they told me I likely have another week or so left in quarantine. Physically, I feel much improved. Mentally, I am in shambles. Unfortunately, one cannot simply walk away from this place. I even considered making my way out across the train bridge, but I'm told it is guarded at all hours. I am tempted to try my luck through the old tunnels the German fellow told me about. According to him, they can be reached by way of the lobby elevator and lead to different parts of the island. If there is an unguarded path anywhere, I suspect it lies there. Perhaps I could find a way to reach the bridge without being seen. If you think I'm joking, I assure you I am not. I fear I have only a few marbles left, and they are rattling about something fierce. Doyle. Letter 9. Monday, June 5, 1922, 11:45 p.m. Dear Tom, I thought I would send you a note while I'm in a better mood. Today was typical enough, with constant coughing, not just from me but from half the ward. Before supper, a nurse came by to administer pills, and once again I spat them out when she left. As evening came on, things grew strange. The ward took on a different feeling altogether. It grew quieter than usual. No coughing, no idle talk, no shuffling of feet. I rose from my bed and stepped out into the hall, only to find it completely empty. It felt like I was the last living cell in a dead body. I walked down to the nurse's station and found it abandoned as well. Panic crept up on me then, slow and unwelcome, and I began peering into nearby rooms. To my relief, they were occupied, most of the patients asleep, their chests rising and falling in the dim light. Only then did I realize I'd been holding my breath. I just turned back down the hall when I nearly jumped out of my skin by colliding with a nurse rounding the corner. I must say, Tom, she was a knockout. She was all dolled up, as if she were heading out on the town. Her hair was done, she wore perfume, and you should have seen the dress. Wowzer! I scarcely recognized her at first. It startled me, really, for I'd never noticed before how much of a looker she was. I found myself quite enchanted, though her name entirely escaped me. After a few clumsy attempts at paying her a compliment, she gently but firmly steered me back toward my room. In hindsight, flirting with a woman who changes one's bedpan is a fool's errand. I soon found myself back in bed and drifted off to sleep, dreaming of better days with the faint scent of her perfume still lingering in the air. On cloud 9, Doyle. Letter 10. Tuesday, June 6, 1922. Dear Tom, last night I fell asleep at once and slept deeply, only to wake feeling refreshed and discover that I had slept no more than an hour and a half. I lay there wide awake, my thoughts drifting back to that nameless dish of a nurse, when I became aware of the silence. It was unnatural, so complete it felt deafening. This place is never truly quiet, not even in the dead of night. Someone is always snoring, coughing or moaning, or the nurses are whispering and shuffling about. But this night was different. It was stone silent. I held my breath, straining to hear anything at all. Nothing. I snapped my fingers just to be certain I'd not gone suddenly deaf. Even my roommate, who normally snores like a horse, lay mute. I checked on him and was relieved to see the steady rise and fall of his chest. I climbed back into bed and lay staring at the ceiling, listening for any sound at all. Then, from nowhere, it was as though words were spoken inside my head. The silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token. The line brought a faint smile to my face. It was wonderfully put, and it seemed to describe that moment perfectly. Yet the next line of the poem would not come to me, and that failure sent me tumbling into one of my spells. My thoughts caught fast on those words. No matter how hard I tried to move past them, they returned again and again like a skipping phonograph. I could not think beyond them. I lay there, repeating the line aloud over and over, for I do not know how long. Perhaps hours. In the midst of this torture, a strange and brief sound broke the spell. I lay there in silence, ready for it to repeat. Nothing but stillness. Now my thoughts gathered, trying to decipher what the sound had been. I lay there motionless and listened. I heard a muffled noise, like something being dragged, but with a rhythmic quality to it. Then I heard what sounded like a tortured scream, echoey and very, very far away. I rolled out of bed, went to my door, and stuck my head out into the hall. Nothing. I shut the door and retreated back into bed. I wasn't certain what I had heard, but it sent a shiver through me all the same. To be honest, I pulled the covers up to my chin like a frightened child. Once again, I lay there, frozen, my ears wide open, waiting for the next sound in this dreaded place. I held my breath for what seemed like minutes, listening for anything at all. Then the unexpected happened. Without notice, without a tick or a click or any sound whatsoever, the lights went out. I mean, all the lights went out, leaving me in complete pitch blackness. Not even the slightest bit of moonlight crept into the room. I'm not sure if I was trying to adjust to the darkness or if it was just plain shock, but I lay there, stiff as a board, my eyes wide as saucers. I wore the darkness like a heavy cloak, and with it came every sort of hideous fear my mind could conjure. After what felt like an eternity, I began to make out the shape of the glass pane in my door, though only faintly. I fixated on it at once, like a moth to a flame. It was the only thing to see at all, though it appeared as nothing more than a dim suggestion in the blackness. I continued staring at the faint glow of the window panel, waiting for the lights to return. As my eyes slowly adjusted, a shape seemed to form within the glow itself. I stared unblinking, as what first appeared to be a shadow gathered into something more substantial, like a woman with long hair, or perhaps someone wearing a veil. I could make out no features at all, and for a moment I tried to convince myself it was nothing more than a trick of the light. But then it moved, only slightly, yet deliberately. I told myself it was only a nurse checking on me, but fear ran through me like an icy chill. My teeth began to chatter, though the air was warm, and my heart raced as I lay there immobile, watching and waiting. Then, out of the silence and the stillness, came a slight sound. It was like a gentle tapping on the glass pane, the kind one makes when trying to be quiet, but still get your attention. It came again. Tap, tap, tap. My mind raced, scrambling for some explanation when a single sharp sound followed, like someone trying to open the door without turning the handle. That was when it struck me. These doors have no knobs, only handles. As that realization settled in, the door shook once more, harder than before. I held my breath. Then all at once the door began to rattle violently, loud and desperate, like someone trying with all their strength to force open a locked door. Panic swept over me, and I blurted out, something. I was not sure it was coherent. I don't even remember what I screeched, but at that very instant, the lights came back on. I jumped up in shock and relief. I leapt out of bed, reached for the door, and swung it open. There was nothing, no one. The hall stood empty, washed in harsh light, as if nothing at all had happened. Then I heard footsteps in the distance, steady and unhurried, and an orderly rounded the corner, walking toward me. I cannot recall ever being so relieved to see another human being. I had a dozen questions ready, my heart still racing, but before I could utter a single word, he glanced at me and said flatly, "Power outage," and walked past without another look. Never a dull moment here at the esteemed Hotel Lazaretto. Doyle. Letter 11. Wednesday, June 7, 1922. Dear Tom, well, I saw the mystery nurse again this morning. She was back in her drab nurse's uniform, her makeup gone, a hat pulled low over her hair as usual. Only the faintest trace of last night's perfume remained, just enough to convince me I had not imagined her. She asked the usual questions about how I was feeling, but I scarcely heard them. I could only think of how striking she had looked the night before, and how I might say so without making a fool of myself. Then all at once, the thought leapt from me before I could stop it. Lenore! And the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore! The line returned to me at once, a scrap of verse from a poem that had plagued my thoughts the night before, now made flesh. How wonderful, I thought, that the very words which had tormented me should also reveal her name. The discovery thrilled me, and for a brief moment I felt sharp, certain, almost clever again. The feeling lasted less than a moment. Her expression turned instantly dour. She rolled her eyes, her face settling into something like boredom or worse, contempt. I wanted to cry, and I very nearly did, What hurt most was that this was the first time in this godforsaken place that I had felt sure of myself, and yet I'd only managed to disgust her. One rare, fleeting moment of normalcy curled into shame and embarrassment. I turned and went back to my cell, gently removed my heart from my sleeve, and shoved it deep into my pocket. I have nothing left to spend. Mark my words, I'm leaving this place soon, one way or another. Doyle. The Lazaretto Letters, a found collection of unmailed, handwritten letters from 1922. Produced and distributed by Iron Monkey. To share your reflections, lend your aid, or explore the mysteries of the Lazaretto Letters, visit Iron Monkey at enterthemonkey.com. Thank you for listening.